free to make the choice of peace, free to be the voice of peace. I am whole. I am whole. I am whole.
Good morning. It's 10 a.m. Sunday, Central European Summertime. We want to welcome you to Unity Serving Military Overseas, where through understanding and demonstration of truth principles, we can be the catalyst along the positive path for spiritual living. Good morning. I'm Randy Fillmore, and I am honored to be serving as your host and platform assistant for today's worship service. Today, Joseph joins me in our Unity Serving Military Overseas studios here in downtown historic Melbourne, Florida, near Patrick Air Force Base. Kind of an exciting day yesterday. At 3:23 Eastern Daylight Time, we were able to see the launch of SpaceX, the Dragon rocket, and the spacecraft headed up towards the International Space Station. And traffic all now is cleared out because it's just a couple of minutes after 10 o'clock Central European Summertime, and a couple of minutes after 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we, again, are very, very blessed to have you with us joining for today's broadcast. We invite you to check in via Facebook. We'd like to acknowledge you during the worship service. And the only way, the absolute only way that we know that who's joining us is if you check in the comment section. On the Indo-Pacific Theater broadcast, we had Dana, Hank, Barbara, Russell, John, and Dave, I think, was the last one who signed in just as we were going off the air. But we certainly encourage you to check in. We will acknowledge you if you're checking in while we're still on the air. And even if you do a view later on, not while we're live, but we would certainly ask you to check in as well. It lets us know that you're actually enjoying our service. The foundation in Unity is affirmative prayer, and while many parts of the world are easing restrictions enacted as the result of COVID-19, there still remain many who are affected. We at Unity Serving Military Overseas feel continued affirmative prayer remains a vital tool in our individual and collective responses and experiences. Unity Worldwide Ministries wrote the following prayer, and we invite and encourage you to include this prayer as part of your daily spiritual practice. We know that God is a God of love that has no end and a power that knows no bounds. God's healing power of divine life is restoring, healing, and revitalizing our world in this very moment. We let go of any fears or anxieties, and we affirm that all are safe, healthy, and protected. We bless all those who support us in maintaining vibrant, radiant health. We express divine life in all that we think, say, and do. We bless our global family with radiant health, peace of mind, and abundant love. And so it is. Another Sunday, it's going to be another energetic worship service. We greatly appreciate not only you coming, but also our partner musicians and our partner ministries that really allow us to bring the best that Unity and New Thought has to offer, specifically to you, our Unity Serving Military Overseas congregation and viewers. We've already heard from Sue Riley and I Am Love during the pre-service countdown. Nimo Patel featuring Daniel Nahmod will be offering their Grateful, a Love Letter to the World. We've been using that as our opening worship song the entire month of May. And we're grateful for being able to play that video and share that with you. Reverend Erin McCabe will be guiding us in meditation. Today's daily word is love. We'll talk a little bit about that. And Unity Serving Military Overseas welcomes the return of Claudia Carawan. And we'll feature her twice during today's service. We've got Fearless for her music video, and then we'll be also featuring her in I Claim a Blessing for our prosperity song. Today's lesson being offered by Reverend Bob Uhlar, Senior Minister at Unity of Tampa, Florida, as he speaks on Live in the Flow. And he'll be talking about prosperity and a program offered by Reverend David Allen Ritz. And it's a very interesting program that Unity of Tampa is engaged in right now, and certainly something that you can be as well. We're going to close our service today with our affirmative prayer for protection and our closing song, Stand. But right now it's Nimo Patel featuring Daniel Nahmod and Grateful, a Love Letter to the World.
You're my life, you're my breath, you're a smile, you're my guest. You're the earth, you're the sun, you're the grass, you are love. You're my hands, you're a bug, you're my eyes, you're a hug. You're the light in the dark, you're the spark, you are fun. You're my mom, you are water, you're the stars, you're my daughter. You're my friend till the end, you're my dreams, you're my father. You're the ants on the ground, the miracles that surround. I'm feeling it all around, the hemisphere in the clouds. You're my pain, you're my sorrow, you're my hope for tomorrow. You're the strength when I'm hollow, you're the path that I follow. You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss. The gift to realize that everything
all
is
that I am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all, for it all. Grateful for it all.
You're the blessings every time I try to count. You're the lessons that I learn every time I turn around. You're the water when I'm burned every time I think I found everything I'm looking for. You're the sign saying stop to take a bow and keep moving forward and start looking towards your heart. It'll open all the doors and only then you'll start to hear the world singing chorus with your mind and heart. Aligned in purpose, everything
All
will feel
that I
gorgeous.
am, all that I see, all that I've been, and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all, for it all.
Every day I sit and pray 'cause what I have is more than I deserve or could ever imagine. How do I give back to all of this magic and spread the love so everybody can have it? Doesn't matter if I'm rich or poor, if I got a family or if I'm all alone. Bad things happen, I can just complain and moan, but there's a million things that I can be grateful for.
So I lift up my hands now, and I open my heart, and my gratitude goes out to everything near and far. All that I am,
Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I
and everything I see, everything I hope, and everything I dream, everything I feel, and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing. Everything I am, and everything I see, everything I hope, and everything I dream, everything I feel, and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am, and everything I see, everything I hope, and everything I dream, everything I feel, and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing.
You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss, the gift to realize that everything is a gift.
Wait, one more. This is for y'all.
All that I am.
It's a blessing.
It's so amazing.
I am grateful
Nimo, Patel, and Daniel Nahmod. Grateful, a love letter to the world. How appropriate it is then that our daily word for today, Sunday, May the 31st, is love. The affirmation is, I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck, in his Master Metaphysician, reminds us that Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, wrote in Jesus Christ Heals, God is love, the great heart of the universe and of mankind, from which is drawn forth all feeling, sympathy, emotion, and all that goes to make up the joys of existence. And that is a little challenging in the last several days here in the continental United States. As you are waking up to a Sunday morning, you've probably seen already in your news feeds how many protests, violent protests in many cities of the United States, everything from Miami to Chicago to New York to Los Angeles, and certainly Minneapolis. It is our reminder to be that loving presence, to be that love in the world, to understand that love is God and God is love. And while we certainly abhor any of the activities that are currently happening, and certainly the what caused all of this, we certainly want to remain peaceful and work through peace, and we envision that peace and that love, and that is how change occurs. We are the change, and we are that catalyst in a spiritually awakened world, and that is what love is. I am the loving presence to everyone that I meet. Let's go ahead and prepare ourselves for meditation. Reverend Erin McCabe, who's the senior minister at Unity Village Chapel, will guide us again in meditation. Now, Reverend Erin McCabe.
Arriving fully and completely right where we are. With all the thoughts in this moment, allowing them to be there and lifting them up for a mighty harmonizing. With each inhale and exhale, may we elevate our minds, elevate our consciousness. May small thoughts of fear, lack, and limitation dissolve. In this moment of prayer, knowing that they are not needed or necessary for right action and grounding. It's also not necessary to resist them or to fear the thoughts themselves. We simply move into observation and unplug the power that we may be given them. We invite in the sustaining light of consciousness to shift our perceptions and perspectives. To be of the greatest benefit to all. To be in alignment with wisdom. So right where we are, we hold the consciousness of welcoming in the light. Allowing it to illuminate any fears, either within ourselves or on behalf of humanity, or another beloved we may know. We allow ourselves to feel a deep sense of peace. A reminder that we are cared for, that we are loved, that we are whole and we are holy. No matter what we feel on the inside and no matter what circumstances meet us on the outside. This is our true nature, and it is our birthright to be grounded and centered. So we let go of trying and we just allow ourselves to experience the fullness of what we already are. Whole, complete, and holy. We take this thought into the silence. By the power of this practice, we activate our ability to bless, to be a presence of peace. I invite you to take your hand and place it on your heart. To tune in to the love in your heart. And take your other hand and to hold it out, lifting up and offering that love to others. And bringing both hands to the heart, acknowledging the light in me greets and acknowledges the light, the Christ, the awakened one in you. We say namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Erin. We appreciate your leading us in the meditation for today. Beautiful facilities at Unity Village Chapel. I want to introduce now Claudia Carawan. She has been one of our original partner musicians. She's out of Unity of Bon Air in Richmond, Virginia, where she is the music director. And she's got some great music that I would encourage you to look at and listen to. She's on, you can reach her actually through Empower, EMPOWERMA, that's empowermusicandarts.com. That's the New Thought publishing house that we use with all of the musicians, and we're licensed through Empower Music and Arts to have folks like Sue Riley and Daniel Nahmod, Claudia Carawan, Karen Drucker, among others. So it's a great opportunity to hear some New Thought musicians that you normally wouldn't find on anywhere else. But I mean, they are musicians that travel throughout the country and have concerts online. And we want to feature right now Claudia's music video called Fearless.
I was born to live life fully, to let go of regret, to walk the highway of life without a safety net, to follow something even bigger than my pride, to show up with courage even when I'm trembling inside. And I will not worry about what others think of me, and I will not be shackled by the chains of conformity. I'll break the mold that in the past keep pushing till I'm free at last. I'll follow the path of my heart and make my life a work of art. Call me fearless. I am fearless. I'll follow the road to adventure everywhere. I'll let the top down and let the wind tangle up my hair. Hitch my dreams onto the brightest star. On the trapeze of life, I just throw my heart right over the bar. On the other side of fear, there lies euphoria, and a better understanding of who you really are. I'll break the mold set in the past, keep pushing till I'm free at last.
our bookstore. She writes a story about a woman whose husband had passed away. And in the following week, suddenly there was lawsuits and counter lawsuits regarding her husband's business and his business partner. And she was feeling just, very angry about the whole thing and resentful about the situation and, of course, the death of her husband. She decided to go to a local church and take part in a prayer group, and she explained her situation. And the prayer group was saying, oh, well, we'll be glad to help you pray for forgiveness about that. And she said, forgiveness? Heck that, I just want to win the lawsuit. And they were encouraging her that, that's probably not the wisest approach to take. But she came back the next week and said she was a little bit more open to that. And then she went home, and she still was feeling resentful. And she kind of just said, God, I humanly cannot forgive this man, but if you can, please forgive him through me. And after she spoke that prayer aloud, she felt an inner peace. The next day, there was a knock at the door, and it turns out it was her husband's business partner. And he, when she opened the door a little bit, he says, I so miss your husband. And she invited him in, and they had some tea and just talked about, the husband and processing the grief of her losing him and the business partner losing his business partner. And they just had a good cry together and all of that. And even though we had pledged not to talk about the situation, she segued into it. And sure enough, between the two of them there, over a very, very short period of time, they were able to come to an agreement about how to move forward, coming out of love rather than fear. And if there is one culprit in having abundance in our lives, it's having resentment or anger towards somebody else or a situation. And I know they may be, come to think of it, they can't possibly be watching at this time in California. But I know my sister lives in California, and my mom's now 87, and she's, her full-time caretaker. And I guess Mom went outside yesterday, or I guess it was the other day, but got into this argument with her neighbor, and she was talking about just that kind of pent-up anger that people are feeling about having their routines shaken up. The Unity movement was started by Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore. And Charles would spend time every evening in forgiveness, because every day that we live, we usually encounter some sort of situation that we could use the forgiveness tool on. Now, as Elliot mentioned earlier, this is the 7th week of a 7-week series on the spiritual principles of prosperity that Unity has been teaching since back in the 1880s. We've devoted these 7 weeks to developing a prosperity consciousness for we as individuals and for us as a congregation. If you've missed any of the series, the recordings are actually right there on the Facebook page that you're watching right now. After the service, you can check out all 7 weeks of it if you wish. It's based on a class that we offer about once a year called The Keys to the Kingdom, which was written by Reverend David Owen Ritz. And if you'd like to get the class materials, so you can dive into this a little bit more deeply, just go to davidowenritz.com. That's davidowenritz.com. Now, the keys to the kingdom, as I often talk about, when we look in the Gospels especially, there's the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven that Jesus talks about. Now, the kingdom of God is that absolute realm that is God. It never changes. It's always there. It's completely dependable. When he mentions the kingdom of heaven, though, you'll see he talks in parables about growth. So the kingdom of heaven is actually our growing awareness that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So someone asks, which one is it the keys to the kingdom to? I say in some ways it's both. And why 7? Well, there's the numbers in the Bible have symbolism to them. And the number 6 is the period of work necessary to create something new. And then the 7 is that acknowledgement that you've got completion at the physical world level. And you're ready to ascend to a new level of understanding. So We started with the intention that we would embrace these prosperity principles and move to that new level. We have prosperity in our mind, body, and affairs, so to speak. Now, if you accept that assumption that there is no separation between ourselves and God, there's a quote that's been around for many years. It's been attributed to many people, but the earliest reference is in ancient Greece to Hermes Trismegistus. He says, God is an infinite sphere, the center of which is everywhere, the circumference nowhere. There's no spot where God is not. Every cell of your body is a part of this God presence. And if we can shed that feeling of separation from God, then we recognize we are a part of God, and we actually can pray from the God consciousness in creating the world that we want, rather than feeling we need to beseech some God on a cloud somewhere. Soren Kierkegaard wrote of a metaphor. Imagine that you've been living in a parched desert and you discover that just below you is a water table, and all you needed to do was to sink a pipe and have an artesian well with all the water that you could want. The flow is always there. We're always connected. It's just a matter of being willing to step into that place of humble power so that we can create the world we really want to create. And it takes just changing our mind about a lot of the basic assumptions we've built in life. In the Gospel of John, the 21st chapter, Jesus has been crucified. The disciples are stunned. They just kind of go back to their prior lives. We've got some of them that are fishing on the Sea of Galilee. And all of a sudden, they see on the shore what appears to be Jesus. And Jesus cries out to them and said, have you caught any fish? And they're like, no. And he says, well, rather than cast your net on the left side of your boat, cast your net on the right side of the boat. And we're told that, sure enough, they've got so many fish caught in that net that they had to just bring it ashore rather than try to pull it into the boat. Wonderful Bible symbolism here. The left side, whenever we're using our left hand or whatever, is representative of our emotional and feeling nature. And our right hand is our thinking nature, which is, you recognize, is pretty much a parallel to that fact that all male characters are thinking nature and all female characters are symbolic of our emotional nature. But think about it. I mean, if these disciples were in grief and just going with emotions, they were not seeing any sort of productivity in their life. It was until they had a chance to see that, hey, Jesus is still there, and go with the thoughts, one of which is faith, and they were suddenly able to have a net full of fish. We have a choice. We are given free will as we enter into this physical world. So, I'm going to ask you 29 questions. I've posted these on Facebook, so you can go over them a little bit later, but these are the questions that kind of, well, I guess it's kind of like a pop quiz of the last 7 weeks of the prosperity series we're doing here with Keys to the Kingdom. But imagine you've got 7 doors in a hallway ahead of you, and that you're earning the key for each of them. So in the first week, we talked about just making the commitment to changing our minds, changing the assumptions we've got in life. We talked about that if we're committed to our goal, nothing is going to stand in the way. David Owen Ritz talked about how when he first did this series, he was talking to somebody about 6 weeks in, and the person says, so you're working the principles? He goes, oh, about 40%. And Reverend Ritz said, well, wait a minute here. You know, it's like trying to be 40% pregnant. You know, either you're committed to this or you're not. So be willing to commit to that. And I think of the second Star Wars movie, Episode 5, you know, where Luke Skywalker goes off to that strange planet to find Yoda to teach him, you know, the ways of the Jedi. And he wants to leave, but his boat has sunk in the water. His spaceship is sunk in the water. And so Yoda says, you know, you've got the power to lift that out of the water. And so Luke says, okay, well, I'll try. And Yoga says, no, you won't try. You either do or you don't do. I mean, you're trying means you've got an inkling in your mind that it's not going to happen. So commitment, especially when it comes to prosperity, is to be willing to live the 4T concept. We've had the banners up here on the wall made by Louis Alvarez. To be willing to tithe of our time, talent, and our treasure. And to be willing to take 10% of our waking hours, say 96 minutes, a cumulative total of 96 minutes, focused on God in some way, whether it's meditation, prayer, reading books, listening to recordings about spirituality, just to allow that to grow in our lives. And then talent, being willing to volunteer. You know, if you're working your typical 40-hour week, you're willing to volunteer 4 hours somewhere on a weekly basis. And then your treasure is being willing to give 10% of your gross income to wherever it is you're getting your spiritual food. And each of these things will start to grow in your life. So here are the questions that we have as far as key number 1, as far as commitment. Am I truly committed to realizing the presence of God in my life, rather than simply attaining more material goods? Am I willing to prove my trust in God as my ultimate source by stepping out in faith and trust? Am I ready to believe that my own inner awareness of God can completely make my life better? And am I willing to devote the time necessary to my own spiritual growth? So if you can answer yes to these questions, you've accepted the first key, and that is commitment. So let's open that first door, walk down the hallway. Second week was vision, understanding the vision for our life and holding that vision. We cannot rise higher than our potential. So what is your potential? Here again, we have free choice. And we have this choice in the 5 general categories of our life that we often talk about: health, occupation, relationships, spiritual awareness, and yes, money. The power of connecting this to the physical world by being willing to write down perhaps our own vision or mission statement. Or take a visual representation, vision board, treasure map, wheel of fortune, something like that, where we have a poster board with visual representation of what we want to see and demonstrate in our lives. So here are the questions about number 2. Can I see myself enjoying God's abundance in every area of my life? Do I feel deserving and grateful for the wonderful potential I find within myself? Do I really believe that God wants me to prosper and to succeed in all 5 areas of my life? Am I listening for an inner divine guidance and allowing it to lead me towards the realization of my vision? Am I willing to devote the necessary time to develop and hold my life vision? So if you can answer yes to these questions, you've accepted the second key to the kingdom, and that is to behold a vision for your life. So let's open that door, start moving down the hall. Number 3 was build a new awareness, and that's where we started facing these things, these assumptions or attitudes we've had about life that were formed by our previous experiences, of course, but being willing to shed those things. There are the facts about the world, and there's the truth about the world. Would I rather be right, or would I rather be happy? One of the oddities of living a human life is that we often have to learn who we are by first attempting to be who we are not. To put our hand on a hot stove and understand truly what hot means by burning ourselves, so to speak. So often, especially early in our life, we make mistakes, and it's one of the great blessings of our life, because it is how we learn who we truly are. So the questions. Do I know in my heart that God is the one and only source of my good, acting through many channels in this physical planet? Have I fully accepted the truth that abundance is a here and now reality? Well, that's a interesting one considering the COVID-19 scare right now. Do I trust that abundance is really inexhaustible? In other words, you having abundance in your life does not subtract from anyone else having abundance in their lives. Do I believe that God is already meeting my needs according to my own level of acceptance? Do I wish for everyone the same abundance that I desire for myself? Have I totally identified with my vision as the real truth of who I was meant to be? If you can answer yes to these questions, you have accepted the third key to the kingdom, and that is spiritual awareness. Number 4 of the 7 is make room for the new. And that was the week where we talked about circulation and just being willing to declutter our lives, clear out the closets in the basement. Also dig a little bit deeper into our own personal finances. It's like, okay, how much are we really clear on our own personal financial plan? Do we have the revenues and looking at how much we have to spend each month? How much debt we have, those sort of things. Just getting clear on what the physical appearances are, and then being willing to open to see those things change for the better. And whatever we give away lovingly and unconditionally, the attitude or energy that we do that with, we start to see a multiplied return of that kind of attitude in our life. So the questions for this one are, do I have a joyful and loving attitude when I am called upon to give? Do I bless the money that flows through my life and share of my good unselfishly? Have I made room in my life for the good that I desire by releasing that which no longer serves me? Do I use tithing to work the law of circulation and honor God as the ultimate source of my good? And I talked about the idea of God being your agent, how athletes and professional musicians, performers, have an agent that usually takes 35%. I mean, if we're just giving 10% away, what better agent to have in your life than God? So if you can say yes to these questions, you have accepted the fourth key to the kingdom, and that is the circulation in life. Number 5 was the little bit trickier one that I kind of touched on with the opening story today, and that's forgiveness, being willing to let go of our past, or what the meaning of that past is. So we release regret, condemnation, guilt, resentment. And like I said, this is the most common area that people get stuck because they're holding some sort of anger. Are we coming from love or are we coming from fear? So the questions in this area is, have I begun to forgive everyone and everything? And here again, it's something we need to do every day. Do I value being free of the past more than I value being right? Am I willing to forgive myself for everything and anything? Am I practicing compassion, love, and acceptance in all my relationships? Do I take time daily to release and resolve my negative and unloving feelings and attitudes? If you can answer yes to these questions, you've accepted the 5th key to the kingdom, which is forgiveness. Number 6, that we covered last week, was counting our blessings and using that tool of gratitude. Notice being willing to put it out there, okay, God, show me the good in this situation, or show me the good in my life. And when we recognize it, being willing to bless it, to actually praise it so that it grows in our life, that we have more good, pleasant experiences. What is your creative energy? What is it that you do really well in the physical world and bringing it to bear on your life? And I talked about how there are 2 layers of gratitude. There's one way of being thankful for something, and then there's the Bible verse about be grateful in all circumstances, so that even when something looks very unpleasant, like, say, a COVID-19 pandemic, the attitude is gratitude. So I am grateful that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. I'm grateful that I'm divinely guided every day as to what is mine to do and what is mine not to do. What is mine to say, what is mine not to say, what is mine to post, and what is mine not to post. Just being willing to say, okay, this is an unprecedented experience for all of us. And it's an opportunity for each of us to decide, each moment, each day, are we coming from love or are we coming from fear? So the questions from number 6 in gratitude is, do I take the time to notice the good in my life rather than just focusing on the negative part of my life? Do I praise the good I find with my thoughts, words, and actions? Do I share of my good as an expression of my gratitude? Am I willing to see the gift that lies behind every problem and the challenge that comes my way? Am I actively calling forth the hidden good? Okay, God, show me the good in this situation. And if you can answer yes to these questions, you've accepted the 6th key of the kingdom, and that is to gratitude. So here we are in the 7th week. 7th is living in the flow, recognizing that there is an ebb and flow to the life, but we want to, of course, be living in the flow the vast majority of the time. And it's not about just doing, it's about being. You know, we can do prosperity, working with these tools, and there's a difference between that and being prosperity. It's a difference between being a human doing and a human being. Sometimes if we are in a situation where we are not getting the guidance on what to do next, perhaps the best thing we can do is to do nothing until we get the guidance on what we're supposed to do next. Now remember, I said that we're earning keys for each door. Well, when you get to this point, the way you earn this key on living in the flow is just being willing to be prosperous. So let's go ahead and unlock the 7th door and open it up. And as we look behind us, we see a long, open hallway. There are many channels of good that come into our lives. It doesn't have to just be this hallway. It can be one of a number of different channels through which the good comes into our lives. So we're no longer swimming against the current, because that's the right thing to do. No, willing to go with the flow and understand the power of the phrase, I am. In the book of Exodus, 3rd chapter, 14th verse, Moses is standing before the burning bush, and God is instructing him to go back and tell the people what God has instructed the people to do. And Moses says, well, they're going to want to know which God I'm talking to, since some of them believe in multiple gods. And God said to Moses, I am that I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. The two words, I am, and whatever we put behind those two words, is an opportunity for us to identify with the divine or to identify with something else. So what are the words you're putting after the two words, I am? I am healthy. I am prosperous. Or I am sick and tired. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to deny, dissolve, and release any thoughts or feelings of being sick and tired or angry. So if we are God in expression, we're not all of God, obviously, but we're part of the God presence to express in this world. So in this one, rather than asking you questions, let me give you just some affirmative prayers to use. And like I said, I posted all this on the Facebook page, so you can review it at your leisure. If you're finding that your old doubts and fears are resurfacing, you can pray, I am committed to revealing the good in my life. When you feel like you've lost your way or face a problem or challenge that concerns you, go back to your vision and affirm, I am this vision of wholeness. If you find yourself experiencing lack and limitation, declare boldly, I am relying on the truth that God is my source, not my job, not the government, not my investments. God is my source, and the good will come to me through whatever channel necessary. When you tithe of your time, talent, and or treasure, support each of these acts of giving with the affirmation, I am living in the flow and circulation of God's rich abundance. And when you feel hurt or angry, forgive yourself in the situation by saying, I am love, and I release this feeling of anger with love. And if you notice or as you notice the good that blesses your life every day, bless it with the affirmation, I am grateful for all that I have and all that is coming my way. When we look at these four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which start the Christian, scriptures, commonly called the New Testament, Jesus tells a lot of stories, parables. And when you look at his parables, you find out that more than half of them are about prosperity, just getting through the day, having the money that we need and the health and all of the various things that we want in life. And back in the first week of this series, I read this Bible passage, and I thought it's a great way to close out the 7 weeks. It's from the Gospel of Luke, 12th chapter, starting with the 22nd verse. Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you shall eat, nor about your body, what you shall put on. For life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither a storehouse or a barn. And yet God feeds them every day. Of how much more value are you than these birds? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a few inches to the span of his life? If then you are not able to do as small a thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin fabrics. Yet I tell you, even King Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed as one of these. And if God so clothes the grass, which is alive in the field today and tomorrow is cut down and thrown into the campfire, how much more will he clothe you, O man of little faith? And do not seek what you are to eat or what you are to drink, nor be of anxious mind. For all the nations of the world seek these things, and your Father knows that you need them. But instead, seek God's kingdom, and these things shall be yours as well. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And may you always be open to God's guidance and grace. Let's prepare for meditation.
Thank you, Reverend Bob. We appreciate hearing those words and how we can look at prosperity in multiple ways. And we appreciate here at Unity SMO hearing your prosperity stories. Such stories don't have to be about money. They can be a lot of different things. One of the prosperity stories two of them I want to share with you. Last week, you may remember I had mentioned that Reverend Russell Highland, who's the senior minister at Unity of Fairfax, had asked me about, for Memorial Day and at their worship service, if we had any artwork that we could provide to Unity of Fairfax for them to basically promote Unity Serving Military Overseas to that congregation. And their worship service isn't for, let's say, another 6 hours from now. So when we were on the air live here, we certainly didn't get a chance to see Unity of Fairfax's service. And I wanted to let you know that Reverend Russell was very supportive, as he is one of our partner ministries, but he was really touting the work that we're doing here at Unity Serving Military Overseas. And he mentioned that they are very pleased and proud to be affiliated with Unity SMO. And to me, that's a prosperity story, because there are a number of active duty and retired military that are part of Unity of Fairfax, Northern Virginia. The Pentagon is relatively close, within a very short drive. Fort Belvoir, a number of military installations, Fort Myer, and the number of military personnel in the Northern Virginia area, I'm sure you can imagine, is high. So it was a great opportunity to have Reverend Russell promote unity serving military overseas. And I greatly appreciated that, and posted it on our Facebook page as well with our artwork behind him in their sanctuary, because they're live streaming just like everyone else, and we certainly appreciate that, and that is a heartfelt story. The other short story, real quick, is one of the congregants at Unity of Melbourne. Her name is Ann. Was in a meeting with many of Unity of Melbourne's congregants last week on a Zoom call, and she asked me that Unity of Melbourne uses Unity SMO's equipment to broadcast their worship service, and she wanted to understand what Unity SMO was. So had the opportunity to explain to about a dozen people of what Unity SMO is and who we are serving. And it really was an eye-opener to folks here in the Melbourne, Florida area. So want to let you know that those are prosperity stories that cause ripples throughout. So please let us know your prosperity story in our comments, whether you're watching us live or whether you're viewing us later on during the week. We'd also like to remind you that Unity SMO relies solely on the tithes and offerings from you, our viewers and supporters. There are several ways that you can donate. On our Facebook page, immediately under the banner image, you'll see a Shop Now button. Also on the Unity SMO website, which is unitysmo.com, we have two donate buttons. Either button, either on the website or on the Facebook page, they'll take you to a secure website where you can contribute using a credit card, debit card, or you can make an electronic funds transfer from either your checking or your savings account. If you'd prefer to go old school, like writing us a check, our address is 1900 South Harbor City Boulevard, Suite 309, Melbourne, Florida, 32901. And our address is located on the lower left corner of the website. And just know that all that we bless, all the demonstrations of your generosity. And right now, Claudia Carawan is claiming a blessing.
In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. This is how I start the day. Knowing good is on the way. I am claiming perfect health, love and laughter, friends and wealth. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. With conviction, undeterred, and power of the spoken word, take my life and redefine. Break what good is coming to me. Yeah, I claim a blessing. I claim it. I claim a blessing. I claim it. Yeah, yeah. I claim a blessing. I claim it. I claim a blessing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bring it to me. Give it to me. Now bring it on, yeah. I claim a blessing. Yeah, yeah. I claim a blessing. Bring it on, yeah.
And we do claim a blessing. We bless these gifts and offerings made manifest in our lives and made available to this ministry. We affirm as we give, as we receive, and as we circulate, we are blessed beyond measure. And so it is. For more than 125 years, Silent Unity has supported persons of all faiths with affirmative prayer. There are prayer associates that are available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Now, it is 5 minutes after 11 o'clock Central European Summer Time, and it is 5 minutes after 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 5 minutes after 4 a.m. Central Daylight Time, which is where Silent Unity is. We encourage you, if you are in need of prayer, if you are wanting prayer, please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. There is absolutely no cost. There are prayer associates there ready and willing and able to pray affirmatively with you. And if you want to, we also encourage you to download the YouPray app. It's available on iOS devices as well as Android. UPRAY. You can submit a prayer request that way. You can also listen to guided meditations or just affirmative statements. So that is available. We want to remind you, coming up next Sunday, June the 7th, we start off with a new month. We also have some new music. Daniel Nahmod will be doing our pre-service music with One Power is doing that for our pre-service. And we've got a couple of new folks that will be coming to you. Eddie Watkins Jr. Has a great music video. It's a great opportunity. He's not new to the Unity movement and the New Thought movement, but he is new. We've not featured him before at Unity SMO. I'm the Place Where God Shows Up, and that's a great. It's a great song. Lisa Firestone also makes her debut on Unity SMO with her Open Heart. Cheryl Myers from Unity of Gaithersburg will be doing the talk, Do It Anyway, and Reverend Erin McCabe returns and to guide us in meditation. Let's go ahead and begin our closing for our worship service today. We do use the affirmative prayer for protection, which is, the light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is. As I know, all is divine. So let's go ahead and make this a new world as we stand.
So let there be peace. I am the stand for peace. Let there be love. I am the stand for love. Let there be joy. I am the stand for joy. We are making a new world now. So let there be peace. I am the stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there
and we are making a new world now. We appreciate everyone who is instrumental in making today's worship service possible. We also appreciate you for watching us either live or later on in the week when it's convenient to you. We do want to thank Sue Riley. We want to thank Nimo Patel, Daniel Nahmod, Claudia Carawan for their participation as musicians, Reverend Erin McCabe for guiding us in meditation, and Reverend Bob Uhlar, Senior Minister at Unity of Tampa, for his Live in the Flow. Joseph, thank you very much for your participation and making sure that I look better than I actually can and do with making all of the magic happen. We greatly appreciate you joining us today and throughout the week. And we do invite you to let us know if there's ways that we can support you spiritually, and leave us a note in the comment. If you don't want it to be seen, send us a message on Facebook. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. We want you to have a very blessed week. Good day.